Yippee-ki-yay, my friends. Welcome to another episode of FBG Games presents the new gaming podcast. We're here with one of our top devs, Dr. Brian Kennedy.
It's going good. How's it going, guys? Happy to be back with you. Been a while. Been pretty busy with a lot of things, trying to get Takeover kicked off into a good status where we can start really kind of exposing what we're doing, letting people kind of see the fruits of our labor, see what's going on, how our development is going, and really kind of opening it up. We are currently developing some of the weapons. We had a bunch of new updates today, a bunch of new mechanics that we're putting in the game. We'll talk about those in the upcoming weeks. But the big thing we're working on is weaponry, and unfortunately, it takes a long time. I think what we're doing, we want to make sure that these weapons are detailed, that they have some of the bells and whistles that other real weapons have. Even if these aren't direct replicas of weapons, they definitely will have a lot of the screws and bolts and things. So it takes a long time to kind of build those out, make sure the texture right, they look properly, they get put into games, they work the way they're supposed to work, they don't fall apart when you start trying to use them, all that good stuff. So we're continuously working, pushing through it. We have a couple of them made, some of them getting released. We're going to go back in, retexture, reskin everything here soon. So we've just been really kind of heads down, making sure we get things out and bring it to the highest quality that we can. Just kind of looking back over the years at some of the weapons we've used in games and kind of what have our habits developed into and how those have played out with certain games. So I thought it'd be kind of cool if we talk about some of these things in our past and what weapons we've used and why we use them and what games. So, and just some of our favorites. Because, I mean, of course, when you're talking about weaponry and guns, one of the first game always comes to mind, always pops in my head first. One of the first games that everyone's played who grew up in the era was GoldenEye. The golden gun, the one-shot kill. I call it BS in today's games, but back then that one-shot kill used to piss everybody off. So I've always been a fan of the golden gun, getting it in the game, playing, going around shooting people, just really doing odd jobs, for lack of a better word. But really going through, making people mad with that gun. That was probably the first gun that I really was like, okay, I need to have this in a game. Then it kind of went to, I think it was Perfect Dark, and I think Perfect Dark was the one that had dual wield.
Remember that era of all this, like a lot of World War II shooters, and it was they had the Tommy gun in there.
Oh yeah, the old school Tommy gun. That was always a good one. It looked cool too when somebody seen you with this huge clip, like, yeah, what's up now? So that's been some of the favorite guns that I had earlier on. And then I would say, as games progressed and we got into that there was that Counter-Strike era and then moving right into Halo. Didn't really have a favorite in Counter-Strike, but when we got to Halo, there was all types of stuff there. So Halo, I would say first, had some of the best weapons. The second Halo, some of the best weapons in video games. You had the shotgun. Double kill shotgun made you feel like you were the man. So that was a huge one. Then we had the Kneeler. Kneeler was definitely a really, really, really fun gun to play with. It was something new, that tracking, which actually led me to one of my other favorite guns that was like later on in development in the PS3 era. We'll talk about that in a second. But the Kneeler was, it hits you, stuck to you, blew you up. That was awesome. Love that gun. I thought it was really fun. And then I would say Gears of War. Now, Gears of War put chainsaws on guns, so that was already sold. Everybody's playing chainsaws on guns, slicing people in half. How can you have a better concept coming out with your first game launch than slicing people in half? That was amazing. And everybody had the shotgun too, so that was cool. But there was one gun in the game that if you master, and Josh should know this, I think I was like top 400 in the world. The sniper. If you were good with the sniper when the first Gears of War launched, no one could touch you. It was amazing. Headshots was like, every shot was a headshot. You could, you jump, you spin, you turn, you come up, you aim, pop, and take someone's head off. That, and it pop, it had that when you hit somebody in the head. So it was awesome. I love that gun. That sniper took me to, took me to the top. My score in that game was so ridiculously high when it first launched and it was all thanks to the sniper. So gotta love
Yeah.
that. I wish I got more chainsaw kills in that gun, but the sniper and the shotgun, that combo.
When you that's live, my favorite good was the host shotgun.
Yeah, oh, host shotty, man. That was the cheapest thing ever. Everybody wanted to be the host because if you was a host, you got that extra second. There's like a half a second of latency that you got to kill almost every time. So that was always a sweet thing about that. Love that about that game. But I would say,
And then Killzone.
yeah. Killzone 2 also had some incredible. One of the things that was great about Killzone was the weapon building. Like this kind of fell out of some games. I think it had it in what was that deathmatch game, tower game, that was kind of like a spin-off of like Counter-Strike and stuff that had you could build turrets and stuff like that. But for consoles, right away it was Killzone and you could build a turret out. Love that. Love the gun that they used in there with the turret. Killzone 2 is still probably one of my favorite shooters of all time. I thought when that came out, that broke the mold at the time of what a shooter was. I mean, they did kind of mislead with what the graphics was going to be on the PS3, but I still think they did a phenomenal job with that game. Really kind of pushed the limits of what you can do in a first-person shooter, and I thought it was like a great combination of gameplay and working together with the turrets, the guns, the weaponry systems. They had some crazy calculations on the bullet spin in there that was like something that required a ton of CPU. It's probably like one of the reasons why games still struggle with the PlayStation and getting the CPU up for the PS3 is because they put in like all types of velocity, spin, barrel rotation, and everything into the gun. So it was like the bullet effects in that game was like crazy good. I really loved that game. That was awesome. But I think that came after Killzone 2 came after Resistance. Now Resistance was a game that took me away from Gears of War. When you had the gun that would shoot and latch on to somebody and then you could run around a corner and shoot them. That shit was awesome. I played that religiously. Like that game to me was when it came out, it was like the earlier PlayStation 3 launch. So it was the first real big game that came out on PlayStation, really. And it was a shooter and it looked amazing. It was fun to play. It ran smooth. I really, really enjoyed that game a lot. So that was one of my other favorite guns. And that even now, that shooting around the corner, I played that all with that gun all the way through Resistance 3. So that was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that game. I really liked that. I think like after that, when we started getting more into like the Call of Duty mode and when Call of Duty Warfare and all that stuff came, I always had my assault rifle. As Call of Duty developed further, started using snipers and really kind of came like when we play on our team, it's like kind of that specialist of I'm gonna get a headshot or something in the game. So that was really cool about that. Love my snipers in there and right now. That's one of the bigger guns that I use. But then you also had games that did certain modifications, like Rainbow Six Siege. But now when I play Siege, I'm an SMG guy. Love my SMGs. Quick, drop the clip in.
So yeah, well then what about it? The one shooter we did play for a little bit, was that considered an indie game? Was Splitgate?
Yeah, so I want to talk about indie games for a minute too before we get into like the certain games that we played and things like that. And kind of just explain independent development and kind of why we chose that route, why I chose that route too, and what does it mean to go in development, independent versus going to work for somebody. So I started a company 608 Games, making educational games and kind of getting into the fun space of those type of things. And a lot of the guys who worked for me left my company and went and worked on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. So Ravensoft is literally down the street from where I grew up at. So a lot of people on my team ended up getting jobs there. I recommended them for some positions, and they started ended up working over at that company and kind of grew their career in the industry that way. I wasn't really keen on making games for other people. I love games too much. I have too much of a passion for it. and your ideas in those companies are not yours. So you can come up with an idea, share it with somebody, they'll turn it into a game. You may get credit, you may not. So that to me was a big turnoff from working in industry. A lot of guys, and a lot of people don't know this, a lot of guys are not working in this industry for money. Like they're not like, the executive level people, they get paid millions. They get a lot of money for working in these big time games and making them. But the guys on the bottom, they make, $50,000 a year, testing and doing some minor things in a game, and they're just happy to get their name in the game and kind of work their way up. I was not about that life. I mean, yeah, great. You could make some money down the line. Like I'm sure if I was doing gaming now, I'd be making bank. But indie games, independent game developers oftentimes are sourced differently. The money, the financial comes from different places. As far as ours is crypto, some people do Kickstarters. Some people use their own money. A lot of people come in and kind of build it up. They get a team, smaller team, maybe 10, 15 guys at most, uh, and really kind of just build out what their vision is for a game and kind of put it on the market and launch it. And then hopefully it kicks off and takes off and they all become rich and sell off into the sunset. So, so that's what I would say is kind of indie games. You can always like the industry is pretty big. It's not everywhere. Like if you're in the Midwest where I'm from, there was Ravensoft, and then there was nothing for hundreds of miles. So so you have I mean there was some small indie developers there, but it wasn't anything major at that time. A lot of indie developers get grants and stuff too. So you see a lot of them do work in the educational space. And if anybody's worked, I know anybody worked in development or anybody worked in software development out there, or you worked in game design. If you worked with developers, you know that developers work kind of at their own speed. Not that they don't meet deadlines, but developers are the type of people that it's 12 o'clock at night and they got an idea. They jump on and they start working and they build it out. They may work till 3 in the morning, but not work again until 3 the next day. So yeah, you kind of got to get them the time frame to be flexible and stuff to get things done. So that was one of the things that a lot of people don't notice about the industry. When you do work in it as a full-time employee, there is crunch time, and crunch time sucks because crunch time means you ain't spending no time with your family for 3 months. You got to get this game out, and you'll get compensated for it, and you may end up having a break after the game. Like, you may get a month or two off even after a big time launch. But it is time consuming. It takes a lot of work. I mean, my classes, I think when I was getting game development, I was spending 12 hours a day just in class, getting my assignments done. So it is a lot of work to do this stuff.
The
So
advantages.
some of the indie games I've been following for a long time, and they've actually done really well. One of the games I'm actually playing right now, playing in VR and 8K. It is absolutely amazing in VR. I will say that. I'm having a great time. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. That game, indie development team had a vision for a game, came out and made it, and they've continually built on this game and made more and more releases for the last 8 years. These guys have really, really put in the work to build their game up, to make it fun, enjoyable, lasting, and they've been really successful. There's a lot of companies like this. The biggest thing I would take away from indie developers is the ability to be creative. You can do whatever the hell you want to. You got an idea, you want to go out there and you want to make that idea into something, you are completely free to do that. There's nobody stopping you from doing it. All you got to do is fund it and have the will to continue to push through it. I mean, I think if you got a vision, you set out, you got a group of guys who want to make it, you can make anything you want. And that's the beauty of indie game. And I think a lot of actually our creativity that we have in the game industry comes from that. When you're a major corporation, you're not keen to taking risk. I mean, I do like Sony and Nintendo a lot because they take more risk with certain games than than say Microsoft. But all in all, these companies aren't taking big risks. That's why Call of Duties are made every year. Halo is still being made. Gears of War hasn't really changed the concept. None of this stuff really changes because once it's proven, nobody's investing $200 million into something that's go out and try and see what happens. So, so that part doesn't happen. So it's a really big deal that indie developers push the envelope of what can be done or what is done. I mean, that's where you get all these games that are like musical and beauty sense and show the mystic of the world and all that stuff. You would never get that stuff from a major company who's trying to pump out millions. They're not going to make games like that. So it's often dependent on the indie developers to come out and make this stuff and really kind of push the envelope of what become games. If you have a really successful game, you got a couple options. You can either continue to make it as an independent developer and make a second version or something like that. You can partner with a publisher and get your game published and really push it to more people. Or sometimes companies get bought out; they get absorbed into a bigger organization like Sony, Microsoft. They've bought tons of indie developers over the years and continue to kind of use those indie developers and make their games into something else. Now, I really want to point out that's something different than companies like I think the guys who made Hi-Fi Rush worked for Bethesda. They weren't necessarily an indie company, but they branched off and did something different. Um, that's kind of different than second party, third party, and all that. Indies is, hey, we're going to take our own money, we're going to go out and make our own game, and we're going to make it successful, and we're going to put in our own ideas and make sure that this is something that we all want to play. So I'm a big fan of indie games. I do like them. I like a lot of the art style, I like a lot of what people try to push out and do. I'm a big, I would say, first party and indie game player. Not so much. It's got to be a really good second party game for me to play it. Like it's got to be something that I've been like, oh man, I really want this. Where it's not a publisher, but it's a company that has a game that they want to put on one of the platforms, and essentially, it's kind of attached to that system, kind of like how From Software was with Sony when they started off. From Software was when they made Demon Souls and stuff and Bloodborne and stuff. They were kind of acting as like a second party game developer for Sony at the time. So, but like I said, the great thing is when you're an indie developer, if you make something good, you get all the recognition for it. It doesn't go to anybody else. It goes right to your company. People remember who you are. They play your games. They look for your stuff, and and all the funds come back to you. So it's really a win if you got great ideas and you got a team that can make the game. But
that's what Takeover is exciting.
yeah, the takeover is super exciting for that because we get to challenge things. We get to do things that you don't see in games. Like you don't see a lot of the things that we're doing in there, and there's no company that's a major corporation going to take the risk to develop something like this because it's not guaranteed. Now, let's say we made our first or second, we're in the second version and Takeover 1 is crazy successful. Then you got these companies like, hey, we'll give you this money to put this on our system. We'll pay you to make this game. We'll pay you if you're already in development to buy the game. There's things that those companies really step up there, and once they know there's a proven product, they're willing to put out the money then for you to make it or continue pushing it, especially when you own the IP. So that's what's great about us really diving into Takeover is that we're not just creating something new and unique in a first-person shooter. We're innovating the market. Like we are really kind of pushing the envelope for blockchain. We're pushing the envelope for what a shooter, how you play, the goals, what the objective of winning is. We're changing all of these things, and that's one of the things that's super, super exciting about Takeover is that, we're able to say, hey, we got an idea. Let's do it. Let's do it. There's something new. No one would support us to make this like that. I can tell you, no one would be like, "Oh yeah, we're going to give you $20 million to make this game." Nobody's going to do that because it's not proven, and you could be wasting $20 million. So us doing it on our own is really like pushing the envelope, really coming in and challenging the market on what they're doing. And since we feel our idea is so amazing, like we feel like we're competing with the heavyweights. Yeah, we don't have the 200 people working for us, and we don't have the all the technology and stuff that those guys have. But what we do have is a bunch of good talent. We have a bunch of guys who are dedicated to making this game a reality, and we have a great vision for what we want to do. And if you got those things, you can really make anything. So I think I think when we get it out there, and I think within a year, you're not going to think this came from an independent developer. You're going to think this is a bigger game pushed out by somebody with a new concept on things. And if we can get the marketing push that we need behind it, I think that you're gonna think that this came from a major studio. Like this is gonna be one of those games that I think will be genre defining. I think it's going to bring in a new era of modes in games and things like that that people want to add in this takeover concept into the games that they have, and add in some of the things that we do, regardless if it's if it's a knockoff or it's a branch of a game that they already have. I think we're going to really be able to introduce something new to the market that's going to be fun to play, that people are going to get pretty addicted to once they start to understand the process and how everything works in the game and what the goal and objectives are in the game. I think you're really going to see the market grow, the amount of players grow, and the amount of people who are interested in seeing more of this start to really build its own player base. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. Still back here working, still back here pushing through, making sure we get all this stuff in the best possible shape that we can for you guys, making sure that we have the best quality that we can make, and making sure that we give you guys a fun experience, something that we want to play, something that we can continue to push forward through and work on for God knows how long. I would love to still be working on Takeover in a decade. I would love to have people playing this game for the next 10 years. And really kind of, as we evolve and grow, staying with us along the way, the journey. I want to see you guys buying and selling weapons, making some money from playing the game, making some money by selling your weapons, and having unique skins, different customizable options. I want to see all of you guys to be able to have all of this stuff where you guys can really kind of customize who you are playing this game and your style and approach, and with your team. It is a team game, so I'm really hoping that people are, you develop a team that works for you in this game. I'm really hoping that you stick with that team throughout the years, and you guys become really high on the leaderboard, and people watch out for you. So looking forward to what's coming. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there.
It's going to be fun for sure, and it's going to be easier for teams and factions to get together because we do have all of that coming out here soon.
Yeah, incorporate all of this stuff that's going to be coming together. We're building a community, so I know that it seems like there's a lot. It's not just the game development. There's other development going on. There's software that we're putting in place that really kind of interact and grow the community. We're doing a lot of things to really build this out more, so maybe even more outreach than first party games, because we're outreaching to our base, and we want you guys to kind of be with us along this journey of building this game. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. We're going to continue to push and grow in different directions, different angles, and we got a great product that we're going to be standing behind that is going to really push the envelope. So looking forward to doing it. I can't tell you guys how happy I am to be making this and how happy I am to be pushing this forward. This is like a dream come true, and I'm glad you guys get to share it with
my friends. We got more podcasts coming for sure. We got different guests. We got guests from the team, right? God, we're going to be able to have some of our devs join us in them. We have other guests.
Awesome. Well, talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us in this podcast. We'll definitely try to get another one out soon. It's been a little busy trying to keep things up, make sure we make some dates and get some things out. So thanks you guys for supporting us. We look forward to continue working and continue making this game a reality.
We'll get back into industry news a little bit more in the next one too. I know some of you guys like when Keithy gets into
there's a lot of news, man. And I got a VR too. And I got to tell you, you have not had a VR too. Oh, it's amazing.
Guys, we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace, guys.